All right then. All right. This is something. This could be very important. Everything I say today, it could not be. I could be completely misguided, but I'm going to be very careful as I can when I say this, and I'm not going to do much dancing around the subject either. I'm going to just straight up get into it and its implications. So there's of course going to be a massive disclaimer at the front of this video. The gameplay you're watching is of me and George doing an Origin starting room challenge. Hello Stephen. I'm not going to be interacting in the stream, as this is more of a live video, which I'll discuss why in a minute. But if you have any questions throughout the stream and you join the stream throughout it, just leave a comment. This stream is optimized for less buffering for you, so it's more of a smooth video style rather than a live interaction type thing. So basically, if you have a question along the way, and it's also enabling me to gauge your response by doing this as a stream, leave it in the chat. And I'm also going to pop in the chat now for people who join later that I suggest that you basically go back to the beginning. If you miss the start of this video and you join any time, you're not going to miss anything, any sort of interaction. Back to the beginning. There is not much interaction. Leave a question and I will answer all questions at the end. So this has come from, I've been saying for a little while now that I've had some intel that's got some big implications, and it's sort of does, and I want to be as straight up as I can with this. There are things I cannot say, nothing towards the game or to the story or anything like that, but in terms of community relations, there are some things that I cannot say, and that's what I'm going to be well, not dancing over, but not talking about. But this video does contain spoilers. This is a live video that I'm doing, so it's not any sort of live stream with much interaction. Like I said, any questions I will get to at the end. So let me just see if I have any other disclaimers in my notes. So oh yeah, that's what I was also going to mention. This is not made into a video where I'm going to cut and show and demonstrate ideas of what I mean. I've got a few of those things lined up just to show you what I mean, but I'm doing this live because I am very busy at the moment. I've just started doing my my A2s, which are the second halves of your A levels. I do those at college before we break up for the summer, and I'm also going to visit university, so I'm busy planning those. I've got big projects for my A2 that are underway. That includes a lot of coursework and stuff, and some of it's research based, so I don't want to waste too much of my time because I do have a lot getting on with, but this is something on my shoulders I do want to get out there. And basically I'm just going to check the stream health before we get anything else underway, and apparently am I even live? What's going on? The hell? I don't know what's going on here. Oh, okay, we are live. Ah, no problem then. Something went weird then. Anyway, so yeah, if you do join the stream at this point, this is the starting point where you need to be. So I would like to start by warning you, this video contains spoilers. Now, not spoilers from things that you may have not read a comic, or you may have not seen this cutscene or done this Easter egg. This contains this is known by some people, but it's never been mentioned here before in this community. So this information that I will be detailing later in this live video does come directly from people inside Treyarch who have contacts at Play the Game. Now this Play the Game word is an immediate warning flashing for some people. It is for me as well. So what I wanted to do is check the credibility of Play the Game. Now this intel I was not contacted by Play the Game. I'm not affiliated with Play the Game. However, the intel that I will be using as part of my theory today was given to me by Siphon. We were working on our Black Ops 3 mod project series, and we were just talking about the story and some of the ideas that I had. My cycles theory video that I made and that got a lot of traction by people like Nixaru and also Rad Austin, and he was like, yeah, that makes sense. This is this is the intel that Play the Game got from Treyarch when I was a director there. That's what he told me. He said that links up, that makes sense. Right, so let's just check my notes because I don't want to say anything wrong here. This intel was, I think it was given to Play the Game around the time of Buried, because there were some videos around this time. There was one where they basically stated the whole layout of Origins and said what the idea of Origins was, and there was another one where they said we're getting our old characters back and we're going back into World War II going forward, and that's basically what we did for the whole of Black Ops 3. If you want to see those videos, they are linked in the description of this live video. And I'm told that these contacts have been maintained and that is still what's going on, and well, it's clearly evidence from what's been happening in the story that it's going on, and people with this information have also been showing their understanding of that too. So this information was never directly released by anyone who had it, only less generalized droplets which were talking about specific ideas and individual maps such as Origins and Eisendrache were released. For example, back before the release of Buried, Boop did make a video where he supposedly got all of this intel from, or not intel, where he got all of this theory from them putting in a Pack-a-Punch camo. And basically that was just a cover for showing that. That video is in the description as well, and in the tags of this video, if I pop them up on screen now, we see things such as Le Tombre. I can't remember if this one is from Boop's video or a video Charlie made on Play the Game, which is basically the layout of Origins, but as you can see excavation site 64. Now I don't think these tags were updated at all. These tags couldn't have been, because otherwise they would have put Origins in the tags if they were updated after release. They didn't know it was called Origins, they thought it was called Le Tombre. So this is the original tags that are in there. You can see it mentions the old crew. We can see Pack-a-Punch camo. Oh, it must be the Pack-a-Punch camo video there, and yeah, so it's excavation site 64 on Le Tombre. We also see Battlefield written on there as well. So yeah, they're the tags. So I just thought I'd show you some ideas of why Play the Game have been given this information, and there's some other things they did, and yeah, Jason said in the Zombros podcast that Origins did used to have a village right behind the church, and that's something that they mentioned in the Play the Game video, and that's not something that we found out about until right up until a week or so ago. So that's clearly something that they knew way back when. They clearly were in the loop somehow. They do have, I think it is multiple people at Treyarch, but anyway. And this whole intel seems very relevant to something I spotted when I was watching a video of Nick's where he was doing Richtofen's journey. It then came on with the Revelations outro, and you know what, Jason, I thought, you know what, Jason said, we're missing things in this outro. There are things we should have got onto, and every shot, everything has a meaning in it. And so I just went through it on his video frame by frame. If you're on PC on YouTube, you can click the comma and the full stop or the period, and basically skip frame by frame through it. And I did notice something, so that was good. And I would have wanted to make a full video explaining all of this, tying this into the theory as well. Obviously there's a lot of disclaimers I've got to get through here because I am going to be leaking some intel, and I want to do it in a proper way and in a respectful way to the community. And when I spotted this, I was like, yep, this ties into the theory exactly. So I would have wanted to make a proper video with this in, but I just don't have the time because I'm very busy at the moment. So this is what we're doing. We're discussing it live on stream. Anyway, yeah, there's something that this intel also comes paired with, and that is the community relations. So some very large community members have had the intel which I will be discussing today all throughout Black Ops 3, all through leading up to it. They've known it since the time when this was leaked to play the game. I knew a little bit of it, but I did not know the full thing that I'm going to mention today and that Siphon told me a week or so ago. And these people are very big. They're not just some guys that make theory videos and go, oh, I got it from the Pack-a-Punch camo. Play the game, we all know what their sources are and stuff, but there are certain people, and Siphon has asked me not to mention them. I'm not going to mention them because Siphon's asked me not to, and also it doesn't matter. The purpose of this video is to get forward what I've seen, and also because this information exists, and I never want anything like this to come to the forefront again, because I don't want it to destroy our speculation and our fun, and this is going to unfortunately remove a bit of that. But I do just want to set a clean stepping stone that we can all stand on together. So these community members that know this and have not disclosed this are not ahead of us and already know what's going on. You can tell these people have known this because when they've been producing their videos about the storyline, or when something new happens implicating to the storyline, they always talk about, oh my god, this has so many implications, look what Jason's given us, blah 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 blah, but they never actually explain what this means because they're scared to admit that. At least that's my belief anyway. I have contacted these people. It wasn't too long ago, so fair enough, I haven't got a response, and I will update if I do get a response. But either way, I'm not going to disclose who these people are because it doesn't matter going forward. Once there's a clean slate, it doesn't really matter. Those people know who they are. It's not important anymore if we're all together, and we can continue on as if it never happened. And this is where we are. This is a way that the information is going to be delivered to us. I'm afraid the community is going to have to accept this is what we have now, and there's no waiting for it to be fed to us from Jason. Of course, I implore speculation, and this could be completely wrong. This could have been overwritten as Treyarch have done in the past. I'm also going to get into some things Treyarch have overwritten in the past, and well, it wasn't necessarily overwritten, it's just they had multiple ideas they were going to run with throughout Black Ops 3 and they chose one. That's part of the intel I have as well. But yeah, so one thing I do want to make clear though is that this is 100% not Rad Austin or Johnny J25. I will say that much because I would not want any sort of witch hunting to go their way, because those guys absolutely love the story and love making theories on it. They have not been playing you this whole time. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to confirm or deny any other people unless I see necessarily fit. But those people, no, it's not those guys as far as I'm aware, and even if it is, they've probably put that to the side and just ignored it completely because that's not something they want to have. But today I'm afraid it comes up, and that's something I've spotted, and I can't say my theory without, well, I could make this theory without saying that this is the intel, but I'm basically saying this has come from Treyarch itself not necessarily confirming my theory, but just fitting into it, and it would be wrong for me to go on making more theories without sharing this knowledge, because A, it doesn't contribute anything if I don't share it, because it's just going to be me going, oh yeah, look at this, and then it'll be ours right the whole way along, and I just can't have me keep pumping out things and milking it dry. I'm just going to literally put it out there, and we just need to move on from this as a slate. So this has been me rambling a lot. I need to check I have no more disclaimers before I actually get into what the actual theory is, and that's why I'm doing this live. I can gauge what you guys are thinking of this. I do want to get into the theory. The theory is quite short and snappy, but the disclaimers are very important for me to make, because the implications of what I say today could have a lot of effect on things. So to run over once again, certain community members have had this intel. It doesn't matter who they are. Today we are all going onto an absolutely clean slate, where we're all on the same stepping stone going forward in the story. We're not going to get delivered in the way that Treyarch probably hoped of what this thread is into the next game, because that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And I'm afraid that's something I now know as a community member, and that's something which we're going to have to deal with going forward, and just set everything from there. Of course, I do not necessarily want to chop up other channels of theorizing and different ways we could go down. There's no problem with doing that. It's just, this is the information that I have. And is that it completely? That is. So let's have a look at exactly what I spotted. Let's bring you to the Revelations outro. Let's just mute that for a second, and it should slow down once we get to the point. So it happens pretty early on. Every shot in this is absolutely 100% important. Okay, we're slowing it down now. Watch this. Everything gets sucked in, but watch what trails behind. You see the suction sort of ending here, and look at these sort of hypervortex things. See, I'm going to hop into that once again. See how they sort of form into the stars. That's what they do. I also contacted Siphon about this, and he said, yep, that fits with the theory, this symbolism. This is not like any sort of secret. This is literally just some symbolism. We see the remnants of the whole timeline that was being sucked towards the summoning key, but not actually put in it, and just becoming part of this sky. Now this sky then fades down, or pans down, into Monty's perfect world. Sorry for the trophy popping up there as well. This is Monty's perfect world, where the timeline, what once was, is now in place. As I mentioned in my video before, the cycle is now complete. The cycle is a complete loop. That's all looped round perfectly. So it's all fine, we can move forward, and that's basically Jason's intention with Black Ops 3. He wanted to put brackets around the story, as he said, tie up the loose ends. That's what he's done with Black Ops 3. That's what we achieve in the Revelations Easter egg and everything leading up to it throughout Black Ops 3 and Origins, as well as in this timeline he's now released, is now cleared up who the guy in the Ascension poster was in Zombies Chronicles. In that radio, in the timeline, he mentions who the Pentagon thief is, all those sort of loose ends, who we called Leroy in Buried is. It's actually Pablo Marinus / Arthur. So all of this is sort of tied up perfectly, and we can now move forward. That was Jason's purpose with Black Ops 3. Black Ops 3 has sort of been as amazing as it has been, an interim way of just closing off everything that was, tying everything up so we can now move forward. Now, everything that we do move forward with is going to maintain the same starting point. It's going to acknowledge this. It's not going to cut off anything and just start completely afresh. It's going to have a thread from the old games. Now, what this thread is, and this is the major spoiling point here, okay, so if you don't want to hear it, then I guess you can click off now. But I mean, if this is accepted by the rest of the community, this theory and video and this leak, then this is what we will have to have as our way going forward. So The intel was that Black Ops 3's purpose was not only to put brackets around the story, but to collect something that could be used for the game following Black Ops 3 and give us, let's pop the gameplay back on now, and give us a way of moving forward, something we're going to collect throughout the game, something fresh, something clean. That was the intel. Now this is interpreted by the people who hold it, who hold the intel, to be the souls we collect, the innocence we create. Monty spends ages with Samantha making her innocent, so it's all about the children. Now, I'm not saying we're going to play as children in the next game at all, but that's our way of moving into the next game. I have no idea how they're going to fill in around that, but that is literally it. That is the thread we have. Now, with this intel, I do have a few other points as well. I want to make sure I haven't missed anything in those bits, because this is done in a live format, so there's going to be nothing that I want to miss out. And if I was doing a video, I could always go back and add it in, but I'm just gonna, you're gonna have to bear with me here while I go back through my notes, because I want to make sure this is complete as possible. Yeah, we tidy it away into a nice little corner. The loop is complete. This fresh beginning is, this is from my notes, this fresh beginning is threaded by innocent souls within the house at the end of Black Ops 3. That's something we've also seen Treyarch playing on a lot in the Chronicles trailers. We see Samantha. We've even seen it in Origins at the end. That's when it sparked with these guys who had this intel that the children are our fresh loop, fresh thread into the next game. And we've seen, even in the Gift theatrical trailer or director's cut, whatever it is, we see the children a lot. That's something that's emphasized. That wasn't important in understanding Black Ops 3 at all. All we were doing is collecting children. Now the children's purpose is threading into the next game, creating a fresh start. Basically everything has been worked out perfectly and threaded it straight into the next game, so we can start there. Also in the outro, let's show you that bit once it gets onto that, and I will unmute it. I want to show you something that Monty says that basically fulfills this. Like I said, Black Ops 3 is the loop is complete, everything is tucked away. That's assuming we go from the Maxis ending, and the buried ending for Richthofen could also be the same. Time just goes on forever. That could just be tucked away. All right, let's show you this. Apparently we're not getting any audio from that. Anyway, in that basically Monty says no Apothicons, no Shadow Man, no mess, all of this is gone forever. So basically with this, and I always see Monty as the voice of Jason Blundell, and basically everything has been a mess that he's been left with. We've heard that from Monty Wisps as well, that everything's a mess and he's just doing his best to tidy it up. You can't expect everything from him. He also says a few things like planting seeds and letting it grow, see if ideas grow. That's also something I see as the voice of Jason Blundell, as well as the character of Monty. I think there's two ways of that's actually sent to us as well. And basically with the mess of the story gone, and this is in quotes for Monty again, I can start making it nice again. So this entire mess that we've been left with is now tied up at the end of Revelations. Essentially it's all in this perfect loop, like I've mentioned in my last theory video. And what was I going to say about that? Oh yes, I don't actually think there was much of a mess. Of course we had a lot of questions with it being linear and stuff, and there were two endings, but just Jason was the guy who really created the mess. He was the one that suddenly decided to jump to Origins. But anyway, it is a way of tidying it up. I know we had two endings, and it was difficult for us to think where could we go. Now we've had two different endings in Buried, but Jason has tidied it up. And that's the whole idea of my theory. And this is basically leading on from what was said last time. I also wanted to follow up what my last video was about the cycle and Richtofen being aware of a cycle. Nick was very critical, saying I don't think Richtofen is aware of a cycle, and I agreed. I had no idea how he could know, but it was just an assumption that I made / he was told to. But he does say the cycle must be broken, as a commenter brought it to my attention. 2 commenters actually did, and they linked me to the exact quote. At the buried ending, if you choose Richtofen, he goes something along the lines of, I must find a way to break the cycle. And he's clearly aware of a cycle. He may be told by the Dark Ether, the Shadow Man, something like that. It may even not be the Shadow Man, because I think the Shadow Man is gone now. So the Shadow Man was quoted by Monty, no Apothicons, no Shadow Man. I think that's all sorted. Shadow Man was a Black Ops 3 thing. That's all tied up now. No problem at all with that. So I don't think the Shadow Man could be implicated with threading into the next game. And how we could be trying to break the cycle and get into a different way, I don't know. Maybe he had a different agenda to Monty, but anyway, maybe Shadow Man could be visualized as Zelensky with his different agenda, and Blundell as Monty has basically overruled him. That's a possible thing. I don't know. That's just something off the top of my head. But anyway, it doesn't matter now. Richtofen's time just goes on forever. Like I said, it may not be a cycle anymore. It may not be a way of breaking the cycle anymore. It may just be a way of time going on forever, and it's still tucked away nicely with the rest of what happens in the previous parts of the story. We've now essentially done a loop to make everything ironed out, and now we can go forward with maybe linear again. We don't need to keep jumping back into these dimensions, going back to what we see. We can do absolutely what we want with this fresh start of the children. So I have a few end notes as well that came with this intel that aren't necessarily related to this theory as such. So when I mentioned earlier that Jason had multiple avenues he could have gone down, that's something he said as well, that there were multiple ways he could have taken the Black Ops 3 story, and this was when he picked up in Buried. So he chose Origins. That was straight away, Origins is part of this direction as far as I believe. He said there may have been 3 or 4 avenues. As far as I know, there are 2, but there may have been other ones that were kind of less thought about or whatever, or maybe there was a way of going down one and then a choice to make later on for him. But one of these 2 avenues is what we've seen in Black Ops 3, completing the cycle, tying everything up perfectly. Or the alternate idea was, and you may have heard JC Backfire talking about this back before Black Ops 3, he also had Siphon as a source, and I don't know how much he was told, but he was told this version of idea that could have happened as well. So this was part of the intel, and JC was basically talking about this, and he was pretty certain that this is what Black Ops 3 was going to be, and this is the idea of the Solaris event. Now the Solaris event is not about closing off the mess or anything. It's about following up time as it was. There's no jumping back trying to fix things, but it was just going forward with time. After Buried, the world is in utter mess. This is either due to the Maxis ending being considered canon, where Maxis destroys the Earth, and maybe he doesn't fully destroy it, it's just very, very damaged. Or it could also include, it could just be that by itself, or it could be the idea of either ending happened, and either way the Earth is a horrible place to be. And basically it's the idea of humanity being sent back to the Stone Age. And I'm not necessarily saying we're going to fight in this sort of Stone Age way. There's still going to probably be temporal rifts that bring weapons to us, and we can have things from the future. Although it's not the future, just because I say the Stone Age, it is not the future, it's the past. But we can have rifts that bring things, weapons that we had back in Black Ops 1 or Black Ops 2, that could bring weapons to us, even though we are in this primitive place. It's just the setting that we're in this primitive place, and the whole idea of what Black Ops 3 was going to be was to bring humanity back to less of a dystopia, basically, bring it back to normal. That's something we saw definitely happening throughout Black Ops 2, where Maxis got our moon characters to destroy the Earth, not entirely, but it was pretty destroyed. And then we see groups like the Flesh forming, the CDC bringing out notices, we see people in hazmat suits, all of that sort of thing. Mob of the Dead was an instance of the cycle being broken. That was Stephen. I just want to follow up on that. I don't think so. I think this is the thing. Somebody posted on Reddit the other day, and this is something I've believed for a very long time, that every map we play is sort of a cycle we play it, and it's not part of the main cycle, it's just a sort of individual cycle. And as soon as we complete the Easter egg, we sort of jump out of that cycle and can follow on with the story. But there's no problem with jumping back and playing it again. That's something that will always happen, will always persist, whether the story's linear, whether we're jumping between dimensions, that sort of thing. Mob of the Dead, at the end of it, we do break the cycle supposedly, but that's just breaking the Mob of the Dead cycle. We do not break the main storyline cycle, as far as my theory goes, and my idea of this concept. But even jumping into Alcatraz, that's a whole separate... When I say jump into Alcatraz, I mean jumping into Mob of the Dead. We know Alcatraz is just a location, and Mob of the Dead is an event that happens there in a separate sort of... I don't want to say dimension, because this has sort of been cleared up by the timeline, that it's Origins, Mob of the Dead, Shadows of Evil. But when you play Shadows of Evil, there's no sort of idea that Mob of the Dead happens other than the fact that the plane flies overhead. So obviously Mob of the Dead must happen within dimension 63. This is some live theorying going on here, and this is something that I'm just coming up with right now. So what I would think of Mob of the Dead as is, it doesn't necessarily happen in the grand storyline thing. We still go to Alcatraz and have the cryogenic chambers and collect the blood of the prisoners, but Mob of the Dead doesn't necessarily have to happen. However, the timeline completely contradicts that. The timeline says that, and even in Shadows of Evil, where we see the plane flying over and we see the timeline connects Shadows of Evil and Mob of the Dead and Origins in the same dimension 63, it must happen because we see the plane. Now that only happens when Mob of the Dead happens. So the characters must escape and fly over, but I don't know, maybe that's a temporal rift in another way that happens in Shadows. It could just be a mess. It could be Alcatraz jumping through. Let's that gameplay has ended. I'm going to change the gameplay here and just give you some more while we think about this, because I'm also going to bring up the timeline in a second. Let's do the Kino starting room gameplay. There you go. I'm going to bring up the timeline here and have a look at this. I've got it open in Blender. That's how I look at it, because I can easily jump around it. I want to see in the timeline whether it says that Mob of the Dead happens or whether Alcatraz just happens, where they lure him to the roof or not. So am I good to bring you into... I need to minimize that. Right, I'm good to bring you into Blender now. If I do this, yep, you can see Blender here. This is how I look around it, so I can just easily rotate, and I can even do it in 3D if I like, but no point to that. So there's in the beginning. Here's dimension 63. Let's jump a little bit, make sure we follow the spiral. Let's go into here. Unable to access the main chamber. Okay, that's still Origins. Okay, that might be something. I can't see what that is yet. September 1917. We're still in 17. Aha, here we go. Begins working for Sal. Sal writes of his frustrations with Chicago's finest. Because what I'm thinking is, Shadows of Evil may be quite far away from where Alcatraz takes place. Morgue City may be far away. And that's why we could see the plane just jump in and out as a part of a temporal rift. Because we do see a lot of storms when we fly on the plane. Let's go up to about here and have a look what this is. Where's my... There. Sal is found guilty of murder. He is sentenced to life in prison. See? You see no sort of thing about Mob of the Dead going on. It's literally just the storyline of what happens there in the timeline. So what happens at Mob of the Dead, where we go through and it's a zombie infected Alcatraz, never actually happens in the timeline. That's a whole loop and cycle that our characters in Mob of the Dead, the prisoners, find themselves part of. That what actually happens in the overall story of things is that just these guys lured out of the roof, as we hear in the Easter egg headphones that you pick up the drops, and they lure out to the roof and just kill him. That's it. That's all that happens there. They're executed. They then go through their own cycle, but that doesn't happen in the overall timeline of things. That's just something separate. That's not important. They just either break out of that cycle themselves or not. It's just a concept it's introducing us to, which is probably important in the overall Origins to Revelation story. So as we can conclude that the Alcatraz cycle doesn't break the cycle that we find ourselves in throughout the entire story that is. But either way, this story is now complete. Everything is tucked away nicely in Monty's sky, in his perfect world as we see. It's just a few stars for him, as the rest of the stars are there, all lined up perfectly. There may have been other things going on, and I don't think we will find ourselves with different characters in a different way of something that's fractured and we've got to sort out for Monty. But I do think we're going forward with Monty and the children, the innocent souls, into the next game. That is essentially my theory, everybody. Thank you for that. I suggest you watch this video right from the start. And yeah, this does, of course, contain or is based off stuff that comes out of Treyarch Leaked. And that's all I hope that we ever get. I hope we don't have anything more that brings up. I'm going to continue to allow Play the Games to keep doing their thing, whatever, if they want to keep doing that. But, well, I don't want that to make it into the sort of mainstream storyline community. I want this to be it, and that's all we deal with. So, and we're now on this fresh stepping stone where we can be delivered stuff from Treyarch, theorize on the old stuff as well that fits in with this. This is now part of our storyline model. But thank you, everybody. I did see a question about breaking the cycle earlier, but I did sort of explain that. My other video can also go over that as well. But thank you, everybody. That is that, and yeah, I'll see you all soon.